I'm in Seattle, in fact, in downtown Seattle, which is really nice. I haven't been here in 20 years, but even better yet, I am here with Andrew Browne. Andrew is the proprietor of Browne Family Wines, and we're here at the tasting room in downtown. Andrew, how are you?
Thanks, Ray. I'm doing great.
Good.
Excited to be here.
Great. Love to see your smile.
Yeah, this is good.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy the trip here today, so it's going to be fun. What part of downtown are we in?
We're down really in the heart of what was originally Seattle. Out on the sidewalk here is actually another part of Seattle that's actually the underground. So this is the original area of Seattle. We're starting to call it the Stadium District. We have a number of stadiums right down the street from us. They play football, they play baseball. It's really where Seattle started in the late 1800s.
It's a great area to be in. Are you from here, native?
I'm from the other side of the state. I'm from Spokane. So a lot of lumber there too, a lot of natural resources. It's really what was built, the state was built on natural resources. A little bit different on each side, but I grew up in the second largest town, nothing compared to Seattle.
Yeah. Has Spokane grown in the same way that Seattle has?
No, I mean, it's grown, but it's probably grown more so in the last 20 years because of California flight to more affordable housing and a little bit slower lifestyle for a lot of people in some of the bigger cities in the West. Seattle's grown because of mega businesses. We have Microsoft here, we have Amazon, just as examples, Boeing, Nordstrom, the list goes on, Starbucks. There's a lot of corporations that are based here, and I think we saw a lot of growth from that. And it's also a really unique area. I mean, yes, we do get rain here, but we also have incredible summers. We have a wonderful ferry system which takes you into the islands. We are on salt water, but we also have a ton of fresh water just on the other side of this city.
So for your wine journey, growing up on the eastern part of the state, so you were kind of surrounded by it even back then to some degree, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how did the bug bite you? How did you end up in the industry?
The bug bited me way early. So my grandfather, who Browne Family in 2002 is when we made a decision to start Browne Family Wines. I'd been in the business since 1990. I actually came up through the selling side of this business. But my grandfather passed away in 2002, and it was a moment for me to ask my grandmother, my dad, and my aunt at his memorial in Springfield, Ohio, if we could honor him with some barrels that we'd made in Walla Walla, where our winery is, and put our name on it. Now, my grandfather never would have let us put our name on it, and so that is the nucleus of how that started. How I got into wine is my grandfather would tell me only one story of his time in World War II, which I truly think he was an American hero. My grandfather in World War II, with the French resistance, said the one thing that he always remembered when they would go to a farm is that they would get bread, they would get cheese, and they would get a jug of wine. And he would pour me a little wine, Mouton Cadet. He loved Mouton Cadet, the second growth of Rothschilds. Back in, I was born in '69, so this would have been in the early '70s. Whether I was in Springfield or Sanibel Island, where my grandparents had a house, I'd get a little bit of wine, and he would remind me of that story. And it's something that stuck with me. So my grandfather was a lawyer, my dad was a doctor. There was no reason for the next generation to get into the wine business, but I had this, it was kind of this flame that started when I was really young, and it just built upon it. And after college, I got in, like I said, on the selling side, and 35 years later, I'm as hooked as I was the first day. It's like when you become a hobbyist at something and you love a hobby, you just never take it out of you. It's there, it's permanent. And there's a reason why, because you have a passion for it and you love it.
Yeah, you're doomed.
Yeah.
Are there other family members involved?
Yeah, I would say my whole family's involved, whether it's my parents who are still around, thankfully, and my kids and sister. It's everybody. It's me every day. Like, I am massively passionate about this. And it really, like I said, it started in 2002, but I'd already been in the business for over a decade. And so to feel like I had the ability to honor who was my hero growing up, and to be able to do that, that became really fundamental, that we had to lay out what would Bittner do. So my grandfather, William Bittner Browne, it became this whole ethos around our business and how we act and live our lives was what would Bittner do. It ended up turning into a bunch of precepts that we talk about on a weekly, daily basis of how do you live your life, how do you treat other people, and it stemmed from that. So beyond just the product that we have, it goes into the ethos of our tasting rooms, what they feel like, what they look like, the imagery on the walls, and to the products we make, and the vineyards and the grapes and the whole thing.
You know, Washington is incredible because of what you can grow here, completely different from your southern neighbors, Portland and the Willamette Valley area.
Yes.
Tell me what you're making here and what you're growing.
So 2003 was our first vintage. So we were founded in 2002, and we wanted to foundationally do what we think Washington was great with. Started out with a Walla Walla Cabernet. So Cabernet was, at that point, we just felt like Cabernet could compete on a world-class level. My grandfather, in 1935, when he graduated college, he was accepted at Harvard Law, but in 35 he deferred a year and he got on a boat and went to the University of Bordeaux. And so he spent a year in Bordeaux. Yeah, like any farm kid in the middle of Ohio gets on a boat and goes to the University of Bordeaux. So there's something in the DNA of our family on those 5 varietals. And Washington State, especially as we sit here in the year 2025, Washington State has done an incredible job with all 5 of those Bordeaux varietals. We make unbelievable Cabernet. Our Merlot is silky, it's beautiful, it has the balance that it needs. Cab Franc has skyrocketed on the quality side of what it is. I think Malbec fits very well in this state. And then that little cheeky Petit Verdot, which we make a single Petit Verdot. All those varietals. So when we started out with a Cabernet. But as soon as we opened our first tasting room, the one platform that we wanted to do was standalone of the 5 Bordeaux varietals, to be able to showcase them and then also to be able to blend them. So our second wine outside of the Cabernet as kind of a mainstream that could go out to restaurants and retailers was what we call Tribute. And the Tribute is the 5 Bordeaux varietals.
I've asked this question over the last couple of years to winemakers, and do we too often compare American wines to French wines, considering we had a late start because of Prohibition? But does it become too much of a, feeling like the French wine is hanging over our shoulder?
Well, I mean, I'm speaking for our family. I mean, we have a great background story on that. 1935, University of Bordeaux. My grandfather falls in love with everything French, learns the language fluently, gets to spend his last month in Paris. So our links to that, and then my grandfather in World War II was with the OSS, and he was at the liberation of Paris. He was at Normandy. My grandfather was at the Battle of the Bulge. So we have a lot of historical, what I would say, wonderfulness about France. And so I feel like we'll take that and then we'll put it in our own way. We're Washington. We grow those same varietals, but they're distinctly different. And what's great about Washington, we're not just distinctively different versus other regions, we're distinctly different versus a lot of our AVAs. So if I want to pick Cabernet from 5 different AVAs in this state, man, I'm going to get a unique blend because I'm getting so many different profiles and flavors coming out of each of those regions. Some of them are a much bigger tannin structure. Some of them get a hell of a lot of wind every day. We get a lot of sunshine. We're about two and a half hours more sunshine than the standard where you would call the north coast of California or even France. We're very far north, so we get a lot of summer sunshine. So just makes it a unique platform for why we love the grapes that we get out of this state.
Are you making whites?
Oh yeah.
And what whites are those?
Well, we started with Chardonnay, and this is funny. So this was an ode to my grandfather, but we go to the next generation and we look at his son, my dad. My dad is a Chardonnay. My dad loves Chardonnay, so we jump from Bordeaux and go to Burgundy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why not?
So Chardonnay was our first varietal, and that has been a labor of love for over 25 years of really figuring it out. And what we found with the Chardonnay grape here is we just needed to get age on the vines, and that we could really get a beautiful balance of really marrying new world with old world, having that acidity. I'm not going to say like bracing Chablis, but I'm going to say that roundness, but also where it cuts into it, and it's got that nice balance, and you want to have that next sip. We were famous in this state for Rieslings because that's what we had. We had bracing acidity with beautiful fruit, floral, and sweetness. So you would take a sip of a Riesling, you would drink it, but you'd be like, oh man, I want another one. It was like biting into that Washington State apple. You know, it was juicy, and it tasted great, but you were like, I want another bite. And that's really how I look at our whites. So from a white standpoint, and when you sit in our tasting rooms, we really try in our tasting rooms to showcase the entire state. Like, new to us in the last couple years is a GSM, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. We also have a straight Grenache that we're really proud of. We think Syrahs grow great in this state. Look, Washington, the one thing about Washington is we can grow a lot of varietals.
What's the one question that you've never been asked that you would like to be asked?
Okay, for the audience to know, this was the one thing that I was asked this, I found out that I was going to get asked this question before, so I got to think about it. Everything else is just you and me talking and from the hip. So Ray's asking me questions, and I don't know what he was going to ask me. I actually knew this question was coming. So what have I never been asked that I wanted to be asked? I actually wrote it down too. If you would go back to being 30 years old and give a 55-year-old's perspective, that's the question that I'd love to be asked, is what would you do? What would you tell your 30-year-old self? 25 years.
And what would you tell?
Man, it's a list. Invest in family and your close friends. Do what you love. Be kind and listen. Talk less, think more. Write often. Ask lots of questions. Trust in others. Delegate deeply. A mantra that we have at our company: have fun. Time is precious. Do deep work. This is one that's really important to everyone, especially young people. Busy is bullshit. Hire team players who love to learn, grow, and win together. That's what I would tell my 30-year-old self. It's a list, it's a long list, but in that 25-year period, I've gone through a divorce, I've had a second family, I've had loved ones pass away, and we've been able to sit down and say, what would they do? What would Bittner do? What would Gigi do? And so to be able to go back and tell my 30-year-old self those things, lean in to people, love people, like that's been my biggest takeaway on this planet.
For our listeners who'd like to learn about you online, normally I ask about tasting rooms, but you have so many of them, I imagine they're not by appointment unless you have a big group, or can people generally come to it, wander on in? How does that work?
Yeah, COVID made it harder. We ended up having to do some appointments and stuff, and it turned into that, but we do the best we can. We call them our brand cathedrals. They all have different sizes. We're sitting in downtown Seattle right now. If we want to cross the lake to Bellevue, that one's got a lot more seating. This one is intimate. And our goal in our tasting rooms is to create customer nirvana. It's from the first meet and greet when you walk in the door to the transaction when you leave, so that hopefully you're telling friends and family, man, you got to go here. These people they're wonderful. They tell great stories. They pour really good wine, and it's just a great atmosphere to go and be in. So we try to get everybody in. We do. But like this place, we're in the Stadium District. Imagine before a concert. Imagine before a sporting event. Sometimes we're full. The inn is full, and we hope you come back when the inn's not full. But because we have a great experience, like we are passionate about giving people, whether it's 30 minutes or 2 hours, truly that customer nirvana. Make them feel wonderful. Give them the best.
How would our listeners learn about you? What is your web address?
Yeah, Browne Family Vineyards You can find us there. The great thing about the web now is you can type in kind of like Browne Family, you can type in Browne Wine. It's Browne with an E on the end, which helps us. So BROWNE, whether you type in spirits or wine, it's going to show up. If a chocolate brown label shows up with big white brown in the middle, that's the one. But for us to have distilling, winemaking, sparkling, it really sets us apart and we're distinct. So you will find us on the web if you just type in Browne. You can type in Andrew Browne. You can type in a lot of things. You will find us. The AI of 2025 zones in pretty good and pretty well to find us.
Andrew, this has been a real sincere pleasure meeting you. You've been a lot of fun to talk to. Again, I love your smile and I love your enthusiasm. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And I will tell you that this has been an honor. This has been my first podcast, and I want to do more.